Dead Channel Duo Podcast, episode number 28. How you doing, Alexander?
I'm doing pretty well. How are you?
Well, I currently have, let's see, $195.64 on the San Jose Sharks, and it's currently the third period. So, could be doing well, or could be really depressed in a second.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, the score's 3-2. Sharks are up.
Let's keep doing updates throughout the podcast on that one, because
There's 8 minutes left.
I am interested. So, it's been a pretty busy week for me, and work, as always, has been stressful. I know it's been same thing for you. We're starting a new segment this week.
Yeah.
It's called What Have You Been Watching? What have you been playing this week? So, Andy, I'll let you lead off.
Well, Xbox-wise, haven't touched it.
Ouch.
I moved my setup around.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of, you guys can't tell because it's similar. But
it looks a little different.
it's very similar. Like, I barely changed my setup around, but I took everything apart and put it back together.
Yeah.
Just like, I don't know. There used to be a monitor this way and a monitor this way. But I guess I can show you. There's 2 monitors.
Yeah. Show us this. Let's get this.
I also got a new poster for the audio listeners. Right there.
Ooh, that's nice.
Jordan Peele's Us. For the video listeners, they can check that out. But yeah, I haven't been playing Xbox. I played chess from time to time. That's not really a game. Well, it's a game, but not a video game. And
Some would say it's the greatest game, but
yeah,
sure.
I mean, it is. If you get good at chess, you get good at other things. Like, I don't know. I learned, like, I forgot what this thing is. Like, you master one thing, you get really good at, I don't remember the exact quote. Like, you master one thing, you get good at other things. But I learned that, like, when I got good at FIFA, and I got good at chess. Like, kind of at the same time.
Yeah.
And then I was getting better at, like, other stuff, like other games. But
see, the thing about chess is it's a great strategy game. Like,
so is FIFA.
Exactly. So if you're good at chess, you'll probably be good at other strategy type games.
When you start playing FIFA or chess, you want to just like attack.
Exactly.
You learn. You gotta learn. You learn defense. You gotta play defense.
Patience.
Yeah, it's the key to soccer. Which soccer's been insane. We'll get into that later, maybe. I don't know if you've been paying attention to soccer recently. Absolutely insane.
Not really.
But I've been rewatching Malcolm in the Middle.
Wow, that's a throwback.
That's what I've been watching. Yeah. I work with a 16-year-old. Well, she got hired, and like she thought I was 26. I told you about this.
Mm-hmm.
So then I started questioning her, like, what TV shows she knows, or like video games, stuff like that. And she didn't know what Malcolm in the Middle was. So I was like, I'm going to rewatch that. So that's why I've been watching Malcolm in the Middle.
See, I feel like even you are a little bit too young for Malcolm in the Middle.
I remember watching as a kid.
You probably watched it in syndication.
I don't know.
I could be
a 2000
wrong.
show.
Well, yeah, but
the
I
2000s, like,
remember...
you know, like the 70s, the 60s documentaries.
But I feel
2000s.
like, I feel like even when it was on the air, you would have been too young to be watching a show like that. I feel like you watched it in syndication, but that's fine.
I remember watching
it's good.
Home Improvement.
Home Improvement?
Yeah, I used to watch Home Improvement.
See, when I was little. You watch that in syndication, which is not a bad thing, because
I remember watching Malcolm in the Middle of my first house, which I moved out of when I was 7. And the final episode was 2006.
Yeah.
And that's when we moved.
See, I got exposed to a lot of shows in syndication. So, for example, when I was a younger lad, Cheers is a good example.
Home Improvement, definitely, because it ended before I was born.
Yeah, so like when I was born, I got to watch the tail end of Cheers. Yeah. But the early episodes, I wasn't even really aware. So I got to watch those in syndication. So yeah, man. Anything else you're watching or playing this week?
I watched a couple movies. I watched the Ted Bundy one on the
Ooh,
Netflix original. We talked about in the
yeah.
College Dropouts podcast.
Gotta plug that, huh?
uh, it was all right. And then I watched the Film Club. Obviously, we'll get into that.
Touche.
Um, did I watch anything else? Let me check my IMDb. I don't know. What have you been watching / playing?
So,
I know you watched Avengers. I know that.
yeah, so I have a lot of things to go over. So first of all, I'll start with the Ted Bundy movie on Netflix.
Did you watch it?
Yes, I did. I watched it with my wife, and I really liked it. I would give it a solid 5 out of 10.
Ooh,
It's
I got
I think
4.
you gave it a 4, yeah.
Yeah.
And for a Netflix original, I thought it was really well done.
Like, so there's like some people like, oh, I hate how Netflix makes movies because they won't be in the big screen.
Don't care.
This doesn't belong on the big screen. It's perfectly where it is.
Yeah, it's perfect. So I would tell people, watch the documentary that Netflix released, which was like the tapes.
The Ted Bundy files.
Yeah, the Ted Bundy files.
Or tapes or something.
Yeah,
I think
watch that first, then watch this. It's better if you do both. But me and my wife enjoyed both. We watched both.
Tapes.
It was enlightening. It was horrifying.
Yeah.
But they also made it entertaining. I will also say that Zac Efron did an amazing job.
The acting is great.
He did a great job acting, and whoever directed this did a great job directing it. Like, there were a lot of shots, a lot of scenes.
Joe Berlinger.
He did a great job. Like, they made you feel like it felt so real. It was good. So I watched that. Obviously, Game of Thrones. It's in the tail end. There's 2 episodes left. It's hard for me to believe that. So I've been watching that. And then I did see Avengers Endgame. So that was an ordeal that I will quickly go into here. So originally, I wanted to see it on Thursday with my wife.
Yeah.
The weather was terrible. So we decided not to see it. We opted to see it on Friday. Showed up to the movie theater right after work, like 6 o'clock. And as we were walking up to the box office, we saw a sign that said, only front row seats until 9. So we finally get to somebody and they're like, yeah, unless you want to sit in that front row and look like up, like hurt your neck,
Yeah.
not happening until it's 9. We checked the 9:15 showing. It was pretty pitiful. They had one single seat that wasn't front row. We ended up so we went there at about 6. We ate something. We went home and saw the show at 10:15 because that was the only one where we could find one that wasn't in the front row.
Yeah.
And we sat over towards the absolute back corner of the theater. And we went home for 3 hours, went and saw it, half an hour of previews, and then it started late to begin with. By the time we got home, it was 2 o'clock. And it was a lot of work to see a movie. I got to say that. But worth it. I won't spoil anything. I won't give you a full-fledged review. I'll just say if you're into MCU, you'll probably like it more than you liked it than I liked it. I gave it a 6 out of 10. I thought it was, I just thought it was, I thought it was good. It was above average. I wouldn't consider it a 9 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10. I don't think anybody will be watching it in 30 years, but I think that it was a fitting conclusion.
It's better than Shawshank Redemption.
No, F that. That made me angry. As someone who recently watched Shawshank for the first time, that made me angry. That's BS.
The worst part is, to clarify people that don't know, I tweeted this. someone I work with, I was like, they were talking about it Endgame, and I was like, yeah, I don't really care. And they're like, what movies do you like? I was like, in the Shawshank Redemption, it's my favorite movie of all time. And he called it a stupid, dumb prison movie, and that Endgame is better than that.
Even if you thought Shawshank was a B plus, I think it's still better than Endgame. Endgame had a lot of cool stuff. The special effects were great. The action scenes were great. But from a writing perspective, and again, I'm not trying to give too much away, but plot hole city. So many plot holes. And I don't know, man. I liked it. I thought it was a fitting conclusion to this chapter of the MCU.
Yeah.
But I'll never watch it again. I won't buy it in home release.
Next, they're going to do Nova or whatever.
You know what's shocking? My wife liked it less than I did. And I didn't think that would happen. But,
I also watched, checking my IMDb, I watched Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
Oh,
great movie.
Sounds good.
I also watched Paddleton, a Netflix original movie that I cried like a baby watching.
I've seen both of those. I haven't actually watched them. They look good.
Tucker and Dale is super fun, like comedy. It's a horror movie, but it's more of a comedy.
Yeah.
It's a great movie. Like it's not gonna be like, oh, blow your mind, but if you're just like, it would be fun to watch it if you and your wife like had a couple beers, and just want to watch something fun. It's good. It's a good movie like that. And Paddleton, yeah, you'll shed a tear.
I'll check them out, man. So as far as what I've been playing World of Warcraft and Super Mario Brothers U Deluxe on the Switch.
The Switch one, did it just come out?
Yeah, like a month and a half ago. It's a lot of fun. I
haven't touched my Switch in a couple months.
It's a lot of fun. I also got to say, WoW has gotten a little bit more user friendly. So, like, if you're new to the game, I would tell you. Well, I know not you, but I'm just saying, like, in regard to anybody who might be on the fence about getting into World of Warcraft. Right now, the game is a very good one to get into if you're new to the game. But Super Mario Brothers U Deluxe on the Switch is outstanding. It's by far the best version of that game. I've also been playing a little bit of the new Yoshi game, Yoshi's Crafted World. It's really good.
Yeah, sorry. There's 2 minutes left, empty net, Colorado. So 1 minute, 44 seconds left, empty net.
Come on, Sharks.
Let's go Sharks.
On to listener questions. This one comes to us from B-Man, a.k.a. B-Man26, a.k.a. Braden, longtime supporter of the podcast. Wait, Bobby?
Bobby from King of the Hill.
Oh, yes. He uses Bobby. Well, he used to use Bobby Hill as his YouTube avatar, but B-Man's a cool guy. We've been interacting with him for a long time, and we thank him for listening to the show for this long. He asks, do you think The Lion King 2019, obviously the live action / CG remake, has potential to be big? Andy, what are your thoughts? You're the movie industry insider.
Could beat Endgame. Yeah. It's going to be the second biggest movie of the year, or for biggest movie of the year. It's top 3, guaranteed, if I put $10 on it. Because Frozen 2 also comes out this year. Frozen 2 is going to kill it.
Yeah.
The Lion King not only gets the kids, it gets the people that watched it as a kid.
I'm one of those people.
Yeah. It gets everyone. Everyone under the age of 60 is going to go see it.
I agree with you. I think The Lion King hits a lot. It checks a lot of boxes, and in a good way. So
yeah,
I'm one of the second people that you talked about someone who saw the original Lion King animated feature. I think it came out in
that group too.
Did it come out in 94, 95?
Yeah.
It was somewhere around there. Mid-90s. I own it on 4K Blu-ray. My wife, well, I had it on VHS as a kid, and I watched it. I mean, that tape, I don't even know where that tape is now, but it's probably worn out.
My grandma's house. I know exactly where it is in my grandma's house.
It's gotta be worn out. I mean, like, it was a movie we watched as kids over and over. I saw it in theaters. My grandparents, believe it or not, on my dad's side, took me to this movie. When it was in theaters, they bought it on VHS. Even my aunt on my dad's side had it on VHS. We would watch it whenever we'd go over her house for some family function. We'd watch it there. It's a movie I've seen a million times. And like I said, I went out and I bought it on 4K Blu-ray when it released.
Yeah.
And my wife is the same way. She's a little bit younger than I am, and she's the same way with that movie. Like, she watched it a billion times. It means a lot to her. And the special effects on this movie look amazing. And, gotta say this, they brought back the man, James Earl Jones.
Darth Vader himself.
I'm so glad they did that. He did so good in the original. He'll do great in this. I think this has a chance to eclipse the original, which is saying a lot, because I know that one did really well in theaters and in home release.
If you've seen Black Panther, it's the same movie.
What? No. Okay, well, and the other thing that I would tell you is that this movie means a lot to the African American community. It's a favorite, and I think that every person I know that's in the African American community that is aware of this movie will see it in theaters that I've talked to, and I think that's on par with Black Panther. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with saying that. Like, I think it's good that there's movies that represent that community. So looking forward to it. I'll see it in theaters, and I will certainly be a home release purchaser. I'll buy
by the way.
I'll buy the steel book.
So I'm kind of freaking out a bit
of it. What happened?
Sharks won.
Sharks won?
Yeah.
Congratulations, Andy. There you go. But yeah, B-Man, I think it's going to be great. I think it's going to... I think it could make more money than the animated. What do you think, Andy?
Oh, top 3 movie grossing of the year.
That'd be huge, right?
Billions.
Yeah.
It's going to be huge.
I'm looking forward to it.
For quality-wise, the live-action remakes don't have a good track record in my book. And I'm hoping for the best. See,
you're right there. Like, I enjoyed the Jungle Book live action one.
The Jungle Book, the Mowgli one is bad.
The Mowgli one is bad.
The Disney one's good.
No, it's good, but it didn't do that well.
Yeah.
It didn't do that
Mowgli
well, sadly.
one's awful.
But I really liked it. And to be fair, I know a lot of people will be like, well, you didn't like the animated, did you? No, I really liked the animated Jungle Book. I had that on VHS as a kid. I used to watch it all the time.
What year did the animated Jungle Book come out?
Oh, God, it was like in the 60s or something. It was like, it was old. 40s, 50s, 60s, something like that.
It is 1967.
Yeah, it was old. I watched as a kid. Yeah. I don't know. I have no
This is a good question. You may remember from... When did Dumbo, the original, come out?
Wasn't that in the 40s?
1941.
Yeah.
So World War II is going on.
Yeah, dude. Like, and I watched that as a kid, and I really enjoyed it. Now, Dumbo, I'll admit, I didn't see it in theaters. I'm waiting for the home release.
Obviously. Or no, sorry. You're talking about the new one.
The new one.
I'm talking about the animated one. I was like, yeah, you're not that old, Alex.
Yeah, the live action one, I'm waiting for it to come out on home release, and my wife has given me a mandate that I must buy it, so I will be buying that one. But Lion King we will definitely see in the movies.
Disney Blu-rays aren't friendly with the prices.
No, they're not. They're like $34.
And they never get sales. It's $34 until the end of time.
We got Lion King at $24. And it's usually $29.
It looks to come out. The Blu-ray is coming out June for Dumbo.
Yeah. I'm getting the Steelbook from Best Buy. Yeah.
Best Buy's the only one that sells Steelbooks.
Yeah. So it looks good. I asked Danny DeVito. It should be good. Anyway, thanks to B-Man for the question. We appreciate it. Thanks for listening. And next topic here is when Andy came up with on...
Well, I mean, stole, but...
Well, yeah. I was going to say on the back of Bobby, a.k.a. Cuban Slim's question from last week, asking about our all-time NFL team. So Andy came up with this question. He wanted us to pick our all-time baseball team. So basically our starting nine plus one reliever. And I had a lot of fun picking this team. So Andy, I'll let you lead off.
Back-to-back start. I think we should go from like back-to-back, like catcher, you pick, I pick. First base, you pick,
Okay, fair. Yeah. Let me pull up my list. I had mine in order of batting order, but sure.
Like you made a whole batting order?
I did.
I did just like 1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh,
like
I got so into this.
So since you did the batting order, you start off and then I'll name my position, like because I didn't do a batting order.
Okay, that's fair.
You not hinder your extra credit.
Well, I mean that's fair. Okay. I feel bad now, but okay,
it's all right.
So my batting order starts with the greatest leadoff man of all time, a guy who could hit for average, a guy who could hit for power, and the greatest base stealer of all time, and that's left fielder Ricky Henderson.
He's in my honorable mentions.
Who did you have at left field?
Left field, the greatest baseball player of all time.
Barry Bonds.
Steroids or not. Steroids or not. Barry Bonds is the greatest player to ever play baseball. He's the most intimidating. Like, there's a video that they calculated. What if he didn't swing an entire season? He would still reach base. It was like 200 times.
It's a fair pick. I couldn't pick him because
he's the GOAT. Hold on. While you pick your next one, I gotta go grab something. Sorry.
All right. So Andy is going to pick his next person later. So second in my batting lineup is a third baseman. And while he wasn't the greatest defensive third baseman ever, I feel like he's one of the greatest hitters in modern baseball. And he was a sneaky good base runner. And that's George Brett at third base.
I feel like we're not going to have a single similar player besides the person I just grabbed out of my closet. I picked as my third baseman the greatest switch hitter to ever play baseball, Chipper Jones.
It's a good pick.
The only switch hitter to ever hit 300 and have 400 plus home runs. Career.
That's a good pick.
And also, I've watched him play.
Also, Chipper Jones is another guy, much like George Brett, who flirted with batting 400 for a season. So, George Brett batted 390. I want to say Chipper Jones batted something similar one year.
Yeah.
And both great third basemen. You can't go wrong with either, honestly. I love your pick. Yeah. Chipper Jones would have been probably 2 or 3 on my list. My next person up to bat is going to be center fielder, and that's Ken Griffey Jr. And the reason I have him picked is because I think, barring injuries, okay, if he had not had so many injury problems in his 30s, I think he would have gone down as the greatest baseball player of all time. He was a great fielder. He could hit for average. He could hit for power. He was a good base runner. He was good in the field with the glove. Ken Griffey Jr. was a true five-tool player.
Yeah.
Second-generation player. Had a massive amount of respect for the game. Nobody will ever forget his home run derby performance in Baltimore. So I have Ken Griffey Jr. as my center fielder.
Player of all time.
Has to be. Has to be one of them.
My center fielder, Ken Griffey Jr.
Good pick.
I picked Ken Griffey. I have some stats. Batted .284, 630 home runs, 1,836 RBIs with 2,781 hits. And he got voted into the Hall of Fame on 99.3% of the vote.
One person didn't vote for him.
Yeah.
And I want to know who that was. Because they're a fool.
He literally, like, if you had to break down who the most iconic baseball player, it's either Babe Ruth or Ken Griffey Jr.
I put him, the only other guy I'd put in that same rare air is Mickey Mantle. Like, and I love Mickey Mantle. And I almost picked him as my center fielder, but Griffey had to be it. I feel like he was great.
For center field, you could put him at any fielder, outfield position. I have Ichiro as an honorable mention.
Great pick. Great pick.
Those are only two honorable mentions I had.
I have a lot. That I won't go into. I could talk all day about this. So in cleanup, I have a shortstop. And I think barring scandals, he would have gone down as the greatest baseball player of any era. I really do. I think he was the most well-rounded guy. And he was so good that he even switched positions in the middle of his career. But I think that he was better suited for shortstop. And that's Alex Rodriguez. I have him as my shortstop. And barring the PED scandal, I think his career would have been viewed much differently than it is now. I still think he's a first ballot Hall of Famer, though.
Yeah. If you look back at his career, he shouldn't have gone to New York.
He would have been better with the Red Sox. I agree with you.
I had the Iron Man. If you want a guy to play
Ripken.
2,630 games in a row, Cal Ripken Jr.
I love your pick because he was number 2 on my list. It's funny because, like, even though we're picking different players, like, every pick you have, I'm like, ugh, that's a good one.
There's one position I feel like it's not going to be that way.
You're probably right. But Ripken was a beast, man. And I got to say, Ripken switched to third base later in his career, and he did it well. So my next player is a right fielder. I have him batting 5th, and that's Hammerin' Hank Aaron.
We have another similar player.
You gotta have
both
Hammerin' Hank. 22 years in the league. He averaged 37 home runs, 110 RBIs per year. You can't go against Hammerin' Hank.
If you don't count Barry Bonds as the GOAT because of roids, it's Hank Aaron.
It's gotta be.
24-time All-Star. He only won 1 MVP, but finished top 3 in voting 19 consecutive seasons. He's all-time leader in RBIs.
Highly underrated.
755 dingers, 305 average. Hank Aaron's a beast.
He's a great player. Like, you would struggle to find a player that played at that high of a level that long. Griffey comes close. George Brett comes close. A-Rod comes close. All players that Ripken comes close. Players that we've all talked about in these first 5 selections. But Hammerin' Hank did it for so long. I mean, it's impressive. So my next player, and that's who you picked at right field?
Yeah.
Whoa. Okay, so we have a little bit of similarity. I don't think we'll agree on this next one. At first base, I have Lou Gehrig.
Yeah, definitely not.
Okay.
I feel like the remaining picks we won't be similar.
We'll see. So Lou Gehrig, I think he's possibly the greatest Yankee of all time. Legendary hitter, 340 career batting average. Played for a long time. Good with the glove.
Named after him.
Okay, Andy, what's your pick? Get out of here.
Sorry.
Terrible. One of the most emotional moments in all of sports, and you've reduced it to a punchline. Get out of here. You're awful.
All right. Sorry. My first baseman.
Rest in peace, Lou Gehrig.
My first baseman is the greatest player that I've ever seen with my two eyes watch play. This guy had the greatest 10-year span you can argue in MLB history. That's Albert Pujols.
So that would have been my number 2 at first base. I think that's a great pick, and you're spot on. His 10 years in that prime, he was
so dominant in that 10 years.
He was as close to Barry Bonds as you could get.
The past 8 seasons, he's batted 200, and he was so dominant in that 10 years, he still is above 300 batting average all time.
It's hard to come up with players that were threats in modern baseball to do this, but Albert Pujols was literally a triple crown contender every year when it comes to batting average,
MVP.
homers, and RBIs. And in every single championship the Cardinals won while he was there, he was the best player on that team. So that's a great pick. I can't disagree with that too much. My next pick at second base is a little bit of a throwback, but I feel like this guy was an absolute beast in his era that's unfortunately forgotten, and that's Joe Morgan at second base. He was a 2-time MVP as a second baseman. I can't recall a single other second baseman who won 2 MVPs. If you look at his stats, he could hit for power, he could hit for average, and he was an excellent base runner. He led the league in stolen bases as well, even though he hit for power. So he was very reminiscent of Rickey Henderson in a way, and he was also a very fine defensive player as well. Just kind of forgotten because he's a little bit of an older player out there. My runner-up that I almost picked here was the Rhino, Ryne Sandberg, but I couldn't go against Joe Morgan.
I struggled at second base.
It's tough. There's not a lot.
So I went with the best that I've seen in my eyes, Jose Altuve.
It's a good one. I'll also say another guy who has a legacy that he's building still is Robinson Cano at second base. If you look at his
he's
all-time,
had a career resurgence this year.
He's quietly put up a good career. He's quietly put up a very good career, wins above replacement, which I think is a very good stat. And Altuve would be the same way. I think Altuve's just a little young still. I think Altuve still has a lot
I just couldn't
of time.
pick a second baseman.
It's fair.
Like I struggled picking someone.
That's fair. So at catcher, is my most. It's near and dear to my heart because all the way up until high school, I played catcher, and I was good at it, and I was really passionate about the position. So when I was a kid, I would always pay extra attention to catchers. There were a lot of good ones over the years that I got to watch. Benito Santiago, Gary Carter towards the end of his career, Pete Rose, even Johnny Bench. But the one guy I went with was the guy who played his entire career at catcher. He was excellent at the plate. He was even better behind the plate. And nobody called a game and managed pitchers better than he did. And honestly, the Florida Marlins don't win the 2003 World Series if it isn't for this guy. And that's Pudge Rodriguez. Ivan Rodriguez.
He's a beast.
Who do you have?
See, technically, we said baseball all time. This guy did not play in the MLB. He played in the Negro Baseball League. He's known as the Black Babe Ruth. They didn't count stats back then, but they estimate he hit 800 to 1,000 home runs. And that's Josh Gibson.
It's a good pick. Good pick. Can't disagree with it. I tried to avoid picking dead ball era players.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it was a different era. So I would have loved to put Babe Ruth in here, but I have no idea what Babe Ruth would be in modern baseball. I don't think that he'd be as terrible as people think he would be. I still think he'd be a good hitter. I don't know about the rest. I don't know if he'd be a good fielder. He certainly wouldn't be a pitcher, but that's a good pick. These next two, I'm really interested in. So my starting pitcher is Roger Clemens.
Cheater.
And that's another guy whose legacy will forever be tarnished by steroid accusations and HGH accusations. However, in his prime, he was unbeatable. He had some great years in Boston. I think in Boston, he was the most valuable player in the league. I don't know if he won the award or not, but I'm just saying he was the most valuable player when he played for Red Sox towards the end. Yeah. And then also his years in Toronto, he was unbelievably good. Now, part of that comes from playing inside that dome, but nevertheless, he was so unbelievably dominant. You feared facing Roger Clemens in Boston or in Toronto in those years. So that's why he's my starting pitcher. Who's your starting pitcher?
I picked a guy that also played in Canada and for the Boston Red Sox. Pedro Martinez.
Great pick. God, he was so good.
Yeah. An amazing 7-year stretch from like 97 to 2003.
The year the Red Sox won the World Series, I felt like he just stepped it up. He was unhittable. That's how I remember him. I just remember him as being unbelievably dominant that year. In so many years beforehand. That's a great pick. So, this next one, relief pitcher. Who do you have?
First Yankee on the list. But I can't discredit the greatest relief pitcher of all time. Unanimous Hall of Famer, Mariano Rivera.
If you're building... Let me ask you as a Red Sox fan. You're building a Yankees Mount Rushmore. You get to pick 4 guys. Who do you pick?
Yeah, he's on there.
Is Rivera on there?
Yeah, Rivera, DiMaggio. There's a lot of players. I want to say Jeter, but I don't think he deserves to be on. Maybe, yeah. But Jeter's also like really good.
See, for me, it'd be Ruth, Gehrig, Mantle, Rivera.
Yeah, Mantle would make mine too.
Those would be my picks, but
I don't know.
So for relief pitcher, I went in a different direction. So first off, I want to say this right now: Mariano Rivera was number 2 on my list.
Yeah.
But he could only pitch 1 inning. That was his thing. He was a closer. He was a modern-day closer. That's not his fault. That's what he was asked to do. He was asked to come in and be a closer. So I don't hold that against him. He would have been my number 2 here. And I think Rivera, I mean, he should be a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's one of the best ever.
He was a unanimous. He got 100% of the vote.
He already got voted in?
100%.
It's already been...
He was unanimously put into the Hall of Fame.
Okay, I didn't know that he'd been retired that long.
The first player, literally this year, 2019.
Oh, it feels like just yesterday that he retired.
100% of the vote.
Good for him. He deserves it. Ken Griffey deserved it too. So shame on whoever didn't vote for Ken Griffey. But Mariano Rivera, absolute legend. I have nothing but great things to say about him. He's also a really cool guy. I picked Goose Gossage here.
Yeah.
And the reason I picked him was because he was a guy who could do it all. He could start. He could come in when somebody ran off the mound. He could pitch 4 or 5 innings for you. And I got to say this, he was really clutch. Fun fact for you about Goose Gossage. He recorded the final out to clinch a division, league, or World Series title 7 times in his career. Goose Gossage would be my reliever because I feel like I could do anything with him.
Yeah.
But if I'm picking a closer, it's Mariano Rivera. And if it ain't him, it's Trevor Hoffman.
To roast my podcast mate on College Dropouts, Drake didn't know who Mariano Rivera was.
Shame on him.
So I was throwing out stats. And do you know Mariano Rivera in the minor leagues had a .17 ERA?
Did not know that.
.17. Insane. Filthy.
That is insane. But this was a fun topic. Took a lot of time, but it was a fun topic. So
it's been a whole day work doing this.
Yeah, it took me about half an hour. And I had a list of players at each position, and I was like, let me try to narrow it down. But it was a fun topic. So I guess the only sport we have left that I think that both of us could do would be NBA.
I mean, hockey. I love hockey.
Well, I could maybe try to do that. Anyway,
I can quickly, you got Jaromir Jagr, you got Wayne Gretzky, obviously, the great one. I'm not even thinking of positions. Mario Lemieux would make it. Gordie Howe would make it. Now I just named 4 offensive players, and there's only 3. All the greats. I can't think of his name, and I'm really ashamed of myself.
Another episode. We'll do this in another episode. We'll do an NHL list, I promise. Anyway, moving on.
Marty Brodeur. Why did I forget about Marty Brodeur? Marty Brodeur is the goalie.
Okay, so moving on to the next topic. We'll do NHL on another podcast. We'll do NBA in another podcast. I got it.
Then we got soccer.
Okay, we'll come up with that too. I'll do some research. So I did want to address this, get your take on this. EA Access is coming to PlayStation 4. And it's going to be in time for Madden. And I wanted to get your take on this, Andy, because you're one of these young whippersnappers that buys the digital games and all that. So Madden now for PlayStation 4, there's going to be 5 days of early access. If you have EA Access, you get 10 hours of that.
12.
Okay, 10. Yeah, I see you.
Yeah, you only get 10 hours.
Yeah, you only get 10. I love how you do that. So you're right. And then in addition to that, if you buy one of the special editions of the game,
you get 3 days
you
early.
get it 3 days early. And if you buy the standard, you get it release day, which is August 2nd as of today.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about staggered releases like this?
Go for it. It's a marketing technique. It's like, if you pay a little bit extra, you can get it early. And if you don't get it early, you'll be behind everyone.
Mm. So I feel like we really differ on this, even though you summed up all my points.
What?
No, you did. I mean, like we agree on the premise. We just have different conclusions, if that makes sense.
It's a business.
So yeah, it is a business. And I totally agree with you on that. So from a business perspective, it makes a lot of sense. I would do it too. Get that money, dog.
Yeah.
But
straight cash, homie.
Hell yeah. But as a consumer, I hate it. Because I feel like it encourages people to purchase that special edition of the game, to get that early access for fear that they'll constantly be behind everybody.
But will you really, though? Let's be real.
You're probably right. And I will also say that I have not been on the outside looking in yet when it comes to Madden. The one game that I really care about this the most. Last year, I was prepared to wait a couple days, and I was going to buy the standard edition, but EA shockingly sent me a code for my channel, and I got it the day of the early release, and I'm hoping that happens again this year, but I have no idea because there's been a lot of turnover at EA. Nevertheless, as a consumer, if I didn't have a YouTube channel, I would have been on the outside looking in, and I hate that. But I get it. Anyway, I just wanted to pick your brain on that. PlayStation 4 people, I'm very happy for you because every year when they do the early access for EA Access, people come in my streams and they always say, I wish this was on PS4. So good for EA. It's going to be a great moneymaker for them. I assume they will sell many, many EA Access subscriptions, and PlayStation will obviously get a good stake of that too. So good move for both of them, but staggered releases, don't like it. Get rid of it. But I get it. Get that money, dog. Anyway, moving
straight
in
cash, homie.
to DCD Film Club.
Before getting that, I just bet $70 on the Warriors, by the way.
It's like this is like a half gambling podcast. We're like by the way, we're like way beyond the time that I thought we'd be at right now, but it's cool.
What do you mean, like the length?
Yeah, we're at 51 minutes right now.
I don't think Film Club will last that long.
I don't think it will either. It's a rare week where I don't think Film Club will last that long. Anyway, getting into the Film Club, don't want to rush you either, Andy. Please give us all your thoughts on this movie and all the future topics here. But
so many thoughts on this movie.
Okay, so
not being sarcastic.
We're
definitely being sarcastic.
Oh God, sometimes I hate doing a podcast with you. You're so
why
you hate everything.
That's not what I meant. What is there to think about this movie? It's just a dumb rom-com.
I'm kidding with you, dude. I was just messing with you. You got exactly the reaction I was looking for. So, we're moving to DCD Film Club. The suggestion came from Bobby, aka Cuban Slim, on Twitter.
Again, second shout out of the episode.
Yeah, really good. It is a second shout out from him. So thanks for being a long time listener, Bobby. Makes it sound like we have two listeners, Bobby and B-Man, and that could be the same person.
It's both Bobby.
It could be Bobby Man.
Second account.
It could be Bobby Man and Bobby. Man. I know that's not true, but still. Anyway, there's something about Mary from 1998. It's a romantic comedy. And Andy, I'm going to let you lead off. I know this is the first time both of us have actually seen this movie all the way through. I don't think that you've seen much other than maybe some comedic moments in memes. So, Andy, what were your thoughts on this movie?
Cameron Diaz is pretty hot.
Super hot.
Yeah. Ben Stiller is an awful actor.
Super awful.
That's about... Dude, the story's so dumb. Who would not pick Brett Favre? Spoiler.
Fun fact for you: it was originally supposed to be Steve Young in the movie. He turned it down.
I mean, the movie is kind of cool. The fact that Ben Stiller is a Bruins fan. He has the Providence Bruins poster behind him. And then Woogie has a Bruins hat on, and then she's
Yeah.
a 49ers fan. Kind of hits home. But other than that, the movie is kind of just it's a rom-com. What do you want out of me?
Yeah. So this was the first time I watched this movie all the way through. I feel like I've seen bits and pieces of it when it had been on TV, and I'd be flipping channels and I'd watch it for about 10, 15 minutes, and then I'd change it to something else, and I'd forget that it was on that channel, and I wouldn't switch back. So this was the first time I actually sat down and watched this movie from beginning to end. Number one, I gotta say, I cannot believe this movie was over 2 hours long. I can't believe they took over 2 hours to tell this story. Number two, I will say they should take this movie, they should put it in a time capsule, and they should bury it, and they should leave a note saying this is the most 90s movie of all time, because it really is. Like, it has a great cast. It has all the typical 90s comedy actors and actresses in it. It has Sarah Silverman, Cameron Diaz, Matt Damon.
DCD legend.
Who?
Keith David.
Yeah. It's got Chris Elliott, Ben Stiller. It's a great comedy cast. It's written well. It's funny. Lots of funny moments.
I didn't laugh a single time.
Oh, I laughed at a lot of it. Very slapstick humor. Very similar, in my opinion, to, I would call it a more high-class Adam Sandler 90s movie. I would put it right up there with, like, maybe Billy Madison in terms of, like, the slapstick humor.
Here. Adam Sandler's top tier actor to me.
I like his movies. I love his movies. I even like the stupid stuff like Happy Gilmore, Billy Madison.
I liked the Netflix originals. That's how much of an Adam Sandler fan I am.
I like those too.
What's the Western called? I watched that 3 times the first weekend it came out.
I forget the name of that one.
I'm an Adam Sandler stan.
Yeah, I like him, and I like anything Ben Stiller, and one of my favorite movies of all time is Zoolander, and I think this movie is very much in the same vein in terms of comedy. I think it's a very dated movie. I will also say it wasn't filmed very well. So like
what do you want?
It feels very dated. I don't know. The audio wasn't great on it either. The soundtrack was kind of abysmal. It's just it felt like a low budget 90s movie. It did great in theaters. It made a lot of money. It had a low budget. It had a great cast. I feel like they spent most of their money on the cast. Overall, I thought it was funny. That it was really representative of the late 90s in terms of rom-coms. And I thought it was one of Ben Stiller's stronger performances. And I would also say the same with Cameron Diaz. That's saying a lot because they've done a lot of good stuff. Overall, I give this movie a 5.5 out of 10. I would recommend watching it once. And that's it. I'm glad I didn't buy this one. Still good.
I gave it a 3. The only positive is Cameron Diaz is hot.
Well, it is, it kind of, to me, it represents, I don't think it ages well. I don't think it ages well.
The movie should have ended 20 minutes into the movie. Where, like, the detective guy found the chick. Or no. I don't know. Like, it should have ended way sooner.
I honestly feel like I feel like this is one of those few movies where I can literally say you have to be the right age when it came out.
I would rather watch Freddy Got Fingered.
Jesus. I wouldn't I like Freddy Got Fingered, and I wouldn't say that. Okay. Well,
Freddy Got Fingered had a better ending than this.
Jesus. Talk about a shocker, dude. Like that shocks me, but that's fair. That's fair. I don't know. Well, there you go. DCD Film Club. There's something about Mary. I thought it was all right. Andy gave it a 3 out of 10. I can't defend it too much, though, because I feel like it is a dated movie. And
sorry, Bobby.
I wouldn't... Well, I mean, I would say it's good, but I wouldn't say it's something that you would watch over and over and over again. So, now, the real question is, what is Andy's pick for next week in DCD Film Club?
This is one that I've planned on picking since we started DCD Film Club almost a year ago. So I'm trying to see. I mean, this one, is kind of lighthearted, so it goes well for this one because this one's a super. Without spoiling it, it's not a fun movie.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going with 2013's, I believe, Ryan Coogler's first film, Fruitvale Station.
I've never even heard of that movie.
It's Ryan Coogler, the guy that directed Black Panther. It's his first movie.
Give me, like, what is it about? Okay, what kind of movie is it?
It's a biopic.
Okay.
It's kind of spoilery. I would really recommend, if you don't know anything about the movie, don't look up literally anything.
Okay.
Because it's a movie that if you Google it, the ending of the movie may show up.
Okay. Well, I'll look forward to it. I hope all the listeners.
And it's super, I think it's a must-watch movie that most people in America should watch. I truly believe that.
I'm excited about this. So Andy's building it up. Looking forward to it. Fruitvale Station, right?
Yeah, Fruitvale Station.
Fruitvale Station. Next week. DCD Film Club. Looking forward to it. Can't wait to watch it. So, moving on to sports. Andy came up with this topic. He says, what team isn't your favorite that you're excited to watch this year in the NFL? Andy, it's your topic. I'll let you lead off.
It would be fun to watch the dumpster fire of the New York Giants.
They were one of my picks, too.
That's not my answer, though.
They were one of my picks.
I'm really excited to watch the Colts.
Mm-hmm.
The Chargers.
Good picks.
The Jaguars, they can step it up. But then you have the dumpster fires, like the Giants. The Cardinals could be the biggest dumpster fire ever if Kyler Murray doesn't work out.
Could be.
I can't wait. Tennessee might step up this year or be a dumpster fire.
Don't see that happening.
Same thing like Washington. Washington could make the playoffs, or they could be the bottom tier team.
I'm excited to watch some teams, specifically after the draft. So, you mentioned the Giants. I don't necessarily think it's going to be a dumpster fire, but I do think it's going to be very...
they win 6 games.
So, it reminds me of when Eli Manning came into the league and they had Kurt Warner as their starter. And people were kind of wondering, well, how long before Kurt Warner, very established guy, gets kind of pushed aside for the young kid if they're not doing well? It didn't take too long. I don't think that'll be the same case here because it took less than 1 game for Kurt Warner to be pushed aside. But my thing is, I think that'll be a fun story to watch all year, much to the chagrin of Eli Manning. I don't think he deserves that, but I think it's going to be the reality because he's playing in New York. And he should expect that because he wanted to play in New York when he was a rookie, and he got what he wanted. And, now he's in the twilight of his career, and that's going to happen. So I think that'll be a fun one to watch. Teams that I had marked down here, the Cleveland Browns. I think it'll be interesting to see.
When you're talking a second ago, I thought of that one. I was like, dang it.
Very obvious one to most people, I know, but I will be interested to see how they play this year. And the reason I put them down is because I enjoyed watching them last year because they had a lot of talent on both sides of the ball.
They have a lot more talent now.
And they have a lot more talent now. So it'll be interesting to see how they do there. My biggest question with them is coaching. How well will the coaching be? Another team is Jacksonville, as Andy mentioned. Yeah. Not only because they are here in my home state of Florida and because I know a lot of Jaguars fans, because I've been known to go to a lot of Jaguars games myself because it's a great NFL experience. But I want to see how this Nick Foles situation plays out. I want to see how Leonard Fournette's situation plays out with the Jaguars. Yeah. So that'll be an interesting one for me. I'm also intrigued by the Dolphins because they are experiencing a youth movement. And
what
last year,
first? Daniel Jones or Josh Rosen starts?
Josh Rosen, almost undoubtedly. And that's nothing against Fitzpatrick.
Josh Rosen start week 1?
No.
Do you see the Fitzpatrick picture?
No.
He's fat. He's big. He's like 280.
Okay, that's not good. Okay, so maybe Josh Rosen does start week 1, but nevertheless, I think the Dolphins situation will be fun, and I think they were a lot better last year than most people had them pegged. A lot of people had them pegged at a 4-win or a 5-win team, and they kind of muscled it out and were a good team. But overall, I would say the Browns, the Jaguars, Dolphins, the Giants, just to see how the drama plays out. You mentioned Washington. I think that's a great pick. I'm also really interested to watch the 49ers this year because you got Garoppolo coming back.
They're winning it all, so,
Well, no, but you got Garoppolo coming back, and they brought a lot of talent in. There's a lot of talent coming in.
Who do you stop on offense? Who do you can't stop anyone on offense.
There's a lot of talent coming in. It's going to be a fun team to watch. I can't wait for 49ers Rams. 49ers Rams, 49ers Seahawks. It's going to be fun. It's going to be good. 49ers Cardinals should be a slaughter.
The Bucks are a point favorite to the 49ers week 1 right now in Vegas. The Bucks are favored against the 49ers.
Let me lay some money down on that one because Vegas doesn't know how bad the Bucks are, apparently. So that's a good segue into our next question here. So for many years, a lot of my favorite teams have been bad, and I've expected them to be bad. So I kind of wanted to ask Andy this question, get his perspective. So as a 49ers fan, they've had some dark years, right?
Yeah. The worst offseason in NFL history.
How do you still enjoy watching your favorite team in any sport when you expect and know that they're bad? Like, what do you do to continue watching them?
I mean, you get excited. I mean, your particular case with the Marlins, I can't really get an answer for. But for I watched some bad Celtics years. You can be like, hey, we get a draft pick.
Celtics. Yeah, they had some rough years too, right? Dark times, yeah.
We had the song goes Jamal. We had Jordan Crawford, Jeff Green, Avery Bradley, Chris Humphries, and Gerald Wallace.
I remember that team.
Rough times. But, you can find beauty in the small things. Like the Marlins this past series. You won one game against the Cubs. But Cubs had to walk off 2 of those games. You almost beat the Cubs. You almost swept the Cubs. If it wasn't for 2 walk-offs. And the Cubs have been the hottest team in baseball since April, 10th, I think it is.
Yeah.
Then you like, I mean, for the Marlins, Victor Mesa, like, or Victor.
Yeah.
I can't really say like they don't really have anyone playing right now. You could look at Derek Dietrich beasting in Cincinnati.
Well, the Marlins are definitely a tough case because you sit there and
I can't really give an answer for the Marlins.
Yeah, so I thought this was interesting because I found that I'm kind of a weird fan. Like most fans, when their team is bad, they stop watching.
Yeah.
Right? But in the NFL and in the NBA, I watch anyway, mostly to see the development of younger players. Yeah. And I take joy out of that. I mean, like, this young guy is doing good. Yeah. He could potentially be a part of a team that's a winning team in a couple years. And then in addition to that, I'm a terrible fan when it comes to this, especially in the NBA and the NFL, where record matters in this regard. After they're eliminated from the playoffs, I hope my team never wins another game. I'm weird. I sit there and I hope they lose so they get a better draft pick. And I know that's counterintuitive to being a fan, but at the same time, it's like, I hope they lose so they get that better pick and they get that game-changing guy. And a lot of times it's been beneficial, for example, with the Magic when they got Dwight Howard. You know, like that was huge for them. Like it ended up becoming something that got them back to the finals. So with baseball, it's a little bit more difficult. The Marlins are really tough. And this is the reason why I came up with the question, because I've been watching a lot of Marlins baseball lately, and it's been tough to watch because record doesn't necessarily tie to draft picks. And we all know draft picks in MLB are very subjective. Like a first round pick could never end up making a major league roster, period.
Mike Trout didn't go first overall.
Exactly. I mean, Mike Piazza was taken in, you know, the 40 or 50th round. It was something ridiculous of the MLB draft the year. Like, so, you know, yes, some great players are taken in the first round. Some great players are taken in the 30th round or whatever in the MLB. So rooting for your team to lose doesn't really factor in. What I do take pleasure in is watching the Caleb Smiths. You know, like when Caleb Smith is pitching, I make a note to definitely watch that game because he's the one bright spot on the Marlins, you know, squad right now. You know, if they do call up someone like Victor Mesa,
Lewis
Brinson. What?
Lewis Brinson.
I'm glad they sent him down to the minors, man, because, you know, I think it might help him. I think he needs that. As terrible as it sounds, I felt bad for him last year. They let him work it all out at the major league level, and I get the intent that the organization had, but at the same time, that poor kid is failing in front of the national media every night, and he ended up below the Mendoza line. It's gotta affect him up here, you know. And I just have so many questions about how the Marlins are being run right now. Peter O'Brien's a really good example of a guy who's 28. He's on the major league roster. He's striking out half of his at bats. He's batting way below the Mendoza line. They sent him back down to the minors. They called him right back up. They gave him a starting role day one, and he's a starter right now.
At the same time, I feel like that's better than the heartbreak that I had to go through tonight.
What's that?
The Celtics losing.
You know, I agree with you because it's tough to be a fan of a team and have them get so close.
They got demolished. Like, it's almost like they didn't try in Game 5.
I don't know, man. I feel like there's some dysfunction in Boston. I could be wrong on that. I hope I am. But I feel like there's something there.
And then I experienced, there's a couple of years where, do you know how NHL standings work?
Yeah.
Where you get a point, you get 2 points for a win, 1 point for an overtime loss.
Yeah.
I experienced 2 years in a row the Bruins missed the playoffs by a point. 2 years in a row. I mean, there's a lot of heartbreak of having a good team. I watched the 49ers lose the Super Bowl.
I watched the Orlando Magic in 1999. They had a team that they called the Heart and Hustle team because it had the lowest payroll in the league, if I'm not mistaken, and they missed the playoffs because they lost their last regular season game that came down to a buzzer beater.
Yeah.
Like those are the tough
Magic.
ones.
Or 2010 Magic. The Lakers finals.
That was a tough one.
It's tough. Sports fans, it's not a fun time out here.
Yeah.
I'm just fortunate enough to be following teams that win it all.
I feel like sometimes
I've watched my Red Sox win all 4 times, fortunately.
I feel like sometimes I let it affect me more than it should. You know, but you become so personally invested in a team.
Yeah.
Especially when you've been following them your whole life. You have no personal stake in it.
Yeah. Speaking of true heartbreak, going into soccer, which I mentioned earlier, you have no idea what's going on, so I explained it to you, the full-fledged, pure heartbreak. 2 games. So there's a thing called the Champions League. It's where all the big FIFA leagues come together, and it's the greatest soccer team in the world wins the Champions League. The champions of all champions.
Yeah, I'm familiar with this, yeah.
So we're in the semifinals. We have Liverpool versus Barcelona, one side. Then we have Tottenham versus Ajax on the other side. Tottenham, Ajax, it's basically like... It's like whoever wins between Barcelona and Liverpool is guaranteed to win it all, basically, at this point. Obviously, wild things can happen. Barcelona, there's 2 legs in soccer. You play 1 home game, you play 1 away game, and then the cumulative score between the 2 games is how the round goes. Barcelona first game goes up 3-0, wins 3-0, basically guaranteed to win. Liverpool then wins 4-0 in the next game to advance to the finals. Absolutely insane. Winning 4-0 against arguably the best team in the world. On the other end, you have Ajax versus Tottenham. The scores cumulatively were tied, but the 95th minute in extra time, Tottenham scored a goal to go to the finals. Pure heart, like Barcelona, like your fans, heartbroken, and then you have the other end, Ajax losing literally with seconds left.
Yeah. Soccer's cruel, man. You know, I don't even like soccer, but from watching World Cup and some European League,
yeah,
it's like football, dude. Any given day, you could have the best soccer team in the world, and they go out and they don't have a great game, and then this team that nobody thought would win comes out and they have the game of their lives. They will beat you. It's a tough game. Soccer's a tough game, dude. You got to bring
4-0 is insane.
You got to bring it every single game in soccer. It's crazy. Yeah. Like the U.S. 2 World Cups back got way further than they should because they beat teams that they had no business beating and tied teams that they had no business tying. So,
the last World Cup they did awesome. AK didn't make it.
Undefeated. Undefeated in the World Cup.
That year, 2 years ago, the group of death, is that what they called it? It was us, Belgium, Portugal, and who was the last one? It was an African team, I'm pretty sure. African or South American. I don't remember. But we got Poor Belgium broke my heart that year.
Yeah. Soccer's tough, dude. I respect the hell out of that sport. I don't like soccer, but as someone who played soccer at a very low level of competitive play, I respect the endurance it takes to play that sport. I also respect the athleticism it takes to play that sport and the skill. And I will also say, I don't care who you put on that pitch.
Yeah.
They got to bring it every game. Because if they don't, there's another guy who will make you regret it.
There's a team that's in a worse situation than your Marlins.
Who's
the
that?
FC Cincinnati. First off, it's soccer. So imagine instead of competing amongst 30 or 29 other teams, you're competing with the world to get talent. And also, like the entire world fights for the same players. They haven't scored a goal since April 7th. They've played 7 games since then. They haven't scored a single goal. The head coach said that the players and the front office suck. And he played 2 more games after that. After roasting the entire... Then he got fired.
Ouch. But
they haven't scored a goal in over a month.
Then again, the Marlins just won their 10th game out of
against the Cubs.
35 against the Cubs, whatever, dude.
Like, then again, you only lost because Jason Hayward and Chris Bryant hit it walk off.
They're so terrible. Like, I love them, and I will always be a Marlins fan.
You didn't get blown out by the Cubs like you got.
Good. Well, on the back of good pitching. You know, thank goodness for Caleb Smith. His efforts were wasted. But, you know, the bullpen usually screws it up, and they're awful. And I feel bad for the players, man. It can't feel good to get into that.
No one likes losing.
Clubhouse and know that you're the worst team in the MLB and that nobody respects you.
Arguably.
They had the worst record, so I don't know. Anyway, moving on. 1 minute of promotion here with me. So let's get into it. So, number 1, there's always a video version of the podcast on YouTube. You can find it on YouTube. Just search for Dead Channel Duo. Same thing if you're watching the video version, you're wondering, hey man, I want an audio version. We're on iTunes. We're on Spotify. We're on Stitcher. You can even listen to us direct on deadchannelduo.com. We're working on getting on iHeartRadio and even Pandora at the moment. We're trying to get on there. But we are on most podcatchers. And if you aren't able to listen to us in an audio-only format and for some reason you're wondering why, send us a DM. I'll try to get us on that platform if you can't listen to us or get you a link. Anyway, t-shirts, t-shirt links in the description. You can buy a t-shirt. Buy one of those. Costs us, it doesn't cost us. It gives us about $6 to support the show. Andy's showing off his right now on the video podcast.
Check it out. I have another one, but I'll unveil it next week.
Well, there you go. Okay, Andy's got another one next week. Looking forward to that. And finally... we are going to be starting a Patreon in the near future. So if you are a long-time listener in the podcast and you say, hey, I might want to throw a couple bucks the way of this podcast. Yeah, let us know.
Get more out of the podcast.
Yeah, send us a tweet or a DM and let us know what you'd like to see out of a Patreon for as little as $1 a month. Just let me know what you'd want to see in terms of benefits. So, Andy, with all that said, with all my ridiculous promotion, talk a little bit about the Celtics, Bruins, Red Sox, and 49ers.
I'm not going to talk much about the Celtics. Kyrie's leaving. You know, it's just a fact. But Bruins, we're in the Eastern Conference Finals up against Carolina. I'm not scared. Okay, they may have just swept the Islanders. They may have Justin Willis, Mr. Game 7. I ain't scared of Carolina. We have the best record left in the playoffs. We have extreme playoff experience. Charlie McAvoy may be suspended. Okay, he did headhunt. We don't talk about that. But it's just for one game. You know, Bruins were winning it all. They'll probably play the Blues in the Cup.
I hope they do.
Yeah, the Blues or the Sharks. That's who we can play in the Cup.
All right. So, Andy's cat is here. Do we get a cat flip?
Nope.
Oh, okay. Well, that's gonna
episode without a cat flip.
I know, dude. That's a long time coming. So
he was sleeping the whole time.
Well, good for him. So that's gonna do it for Dead Channel Duo 28. We will see you next week. Thanks for listening.
Bye.